Inside the Game, back live across your airwaves, episode 277. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky. Still can't hear the horn. However, I can hear it in my head because I've heard it before. So therefore, it's fine. I know what it sounds like. So, beow, 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 beow. And welcome back in to Inside the Game again, 277 here on Tuesday. Ryan, for I think your generation, you guys have not probably seen a single good April in the history of your life in Detroit. With the exception, well, no, there isn't really an exception. I mean, the
There
Pistons have never
technically
really
is an
done
exception.
anything. Okay, all right. Well,
There's the
okay. So,
2008 Stanley Cup. There's 2009 they lost the Stanley Cup Finals. So,
but did you really pay attention then? I mean,
I didn't
maybe you
really pay
did. I
attention
don't
to
know.
sports like consistently until like 2015. So
That's okay. So maybe not in your, but the ones you were paying attention to. However, the month of April is fun and exciting around the sports world for many reasons. You have playoffs, you have different things going on. Obviously, we're building up to the World Cup. But the other exciting thing, and shout out my Aunt Bridget, who used to train horses just outside of Philly. I know I did one little segment with you on horse racing once upon a time. But I also told her that I would mention this. Obviously, the Kentucky Derby coming up on May the 2nd. It is the biggest show in the horse racing world, and it's one of those experiences you have to go in person. It's not something that you can really get a true
have you
feel
been in
for
person?
just watching it on TV. No, I mean, I've known people that have gone. It's on the bucket list, but it's just because everybody dresses up. Everybody gets into their best, and
Yeah, but how many of them
their best
actually care
fits.
about being there? The only people
I
that
don't.
care that they're there are because they have a horse in the race and they're betting
Right.
money on the race.
Or they're betting.
And
Yeah,
half of them are
exactly.
just there to post on
That's
Instagram. I
well,
really don't think
that's what
people
it is.
actually truly care about. Half the people there do not care about being there. They
It's
just
for
want
the
to post for the
experience.
Instagram. They just want the cool little amenities. That's all they
But
want.
it's at the same thing. If you were to go to like Live or like a PGA golf like tour, like, well, maybe not PGA, but if you were to go to like a Live
Yeah, I would never
golf
go to a golf tour.
something, oh come on, you would never
Nope.
go just
I
hang
don't want
out.
to watch golf. It's stupid. I'd rather just play it and suck at it than
uh I mean, anyways, Kentucky Derby's an experience. But to open the show today, wanted to talk about, if you had a horse, and I know you said you would never own a horse. Frankly, I don't understand the situation in which you would ever need a horse. However, if you had one and it was racing, what would you name it?
Indiana, so I could cheat and then suck for a long time, and then when I eventually win, get super emotionally pissed off and so easily pissed off because someone said I'm not that good. That's what I would name it.
Yeah, but you would, like I said before, you would discredit
No,
your
no,
own
no.
horse
I
if
wouldn't
you ended
discredit
up
everyone
winning the
else.
race.
Everyone else would discredit it, and then I would just get mad so quickly and so emotionally, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, are you mad? You can't say that about me. You can't say that." That's what I would do. That's
They're
why I
not
would name
saying
it that.
about you. They're saying it about the horse. I mean, what did you just
Well,
shoot
the
some
horse obviously
steroids in
does
the
not
horse?
hear anything, so it'd just be me, the
Did you
trainer.
give
So I'd get pissed off so easily. Because I'm the
Did you
coach.
give the horse?
I'm the coach.
Did you
So
give the horse? Did you give the horse some injectables by chance? Is there steroids for horses? Is
probably,
that a thing? I guess I gotta
probably.
ask my Aunt Bridget. Not that she's ever juiced a horse before. At least I hope she hasn't. But I mean, that'd probably be at the jockey's discretion. Okay.
Yeah,
How about
no,
you name him
I would
Royds?
probably just steal everyone's like game plan for the race. That's probably what I would do.
You don't want to name him Roids just to give yourself away there. Okay, I would probably name mine Knuckleball or Knucklehead. I think Knucklehead would be hilarious just because if he won the Kentucky Derby, having the fastest horse in the world being named Knucklehead would just be so wonderfully ironic. We get a comment in the
Fabian,
chat.
I would name my horse LeBron so he could throw himself to the ground. That's a good point. But you've also got to be built like a freight train, and no one else should really which should make you fall. But the horse has got to be built like a freight train, and then when it falls, cry and act like it got shot. So yeah, no,
Oh.
I would. I would I definitely would not name my horse LeBron just simply because that means I would get to the big game and then not win it. So unless I had like generational help around me, so I probably would not name my horse LeBron. So I would probably name
Yeah,
it JJ for JJ Barea. So that's probably what I would name it.
or Dirk. Dirk would
Or
be a great
Jason
name for a
Terry.
horse. Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki, NBA champion, also the fastest horse in the world. So there you go. Or better yet, how about Nicola or Nicola?
Ooh, that'd be a good one because he actually cares about horses and actually has horses. Fabian, he would win 4
Same.
out of 10 races, probably. But then he would also say about how great he is. So and make
He'd
commercials
still be racing,
that
and
are
the
about
horse
him
would still be
comparing
racing
himself
it.
to LeBron or to Michael Jordan. So probably.
The horse would still be racing at 41 years old, though. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I don't know,
The last time
most
he won
durability.
something, I was in high school.
Longest
which was
lasting horse.
like 6 years ago.
That was like last year, Ryan. Come on.
He won it when I was still playing soccer, so that was a long time ago. He has done nothing. And Fabian, I would have the league force a trade to go get me a superstar and force a trade. So just like getting Luka Doncic. So I'd have the league go force that trade.
Let's get into the soccer conversation here in hour number 1. Wanted to mention this out of the gate. The MASL. And I know we were mentioning the skirmish yesterday that happened between the players and the fans on the way off, but that finished off. San Diego 10-3 victory last night to win the MASL. They continue to be the standard in that league. I know we've had the opportunity to call a lot of games on our network, and I've actually called a few of their games once upon a time. And I'll tell you this, Ryan, Chihuahua leaving the MASL was like, it felt like Aaron Rodgers leaving the Packers for from the NFC North. I mean, you could be as good as you wanted to, but for whatever reason, Chihuahua was unbeatable. And I know we talked about Black Magic.
But then
in
did
the
Chihuahua
AFCON
then
final,
lose in the conference championship game all the time?
What are you talking about?
So then would Chihuahua then lose in the conference finals all the time?
No, they won a lot.
So they're not Aaron Rodgers then. Okay.
Oh, well, I mean, in the way of teams getting out of the North, you know what I mean?
Like, no, I'm just curious because Aaron Rodgers is like 1-4 all time in NFC Championship games, but it's never his fault.
You know exactly what I mean by saying that. But it just felt like them getting out of the way kind of opened up the door for everybody else. And now, I mean, it's San Diego's league, and last night was another example of it. So crazy to see the run they have had, and I mean, I'm thinking they'll probably continue it.
Yeah, no, it's almost funny when like you have your players all the time and on the field that you win games and you don't get blown out in them. So I just find that interesting when you finally don't have all your players suspended for life or for 1 game suspensions. But hey, MLS or MASL, dude, there's too many leagues in this country with 4 letters, S's and L's and A's and U's and everything. Like, God. So difficult sometimes. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
And one of my former teammates is on Milwaukee, so really wanted to see Milwaukee get the dub.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Just coming up short. Obviously had a really good season too. But San Diego has been what they've been, which is dominant. So that continuing. You talk about a league that has their dynasties. That has certainly been the major arena soccer league. But let's get into our other first topic here in the show. By the way, check us out on social media, National Soccer Network, as well as Sports Nation. That's sports with a Z. But the Vancouver Whitecaps, potentially big move in the Major League Soccer, potentially considering a move to Las Vegas. Go ahead and lay this story out for us, Ryan.
Yeah, they've had the team up for sale for a couple of years, and now that there's some investment from Las Vegas and Phoenix, Vancouver Whitecaps might be on the move to Vegas. And from a U.S. men's national team standpoint, I love it because you think about it. Vancouver, I think, is the second or the first largest city in Canada. I think it's a give or take between them and Toronto, what I saw. So we'll just say they're one of the biggest cities in Canada. And you're telling me we're going to take an MLS academy, an MLS side away from the country of Canada? That's what you're telling me? Like, okay, obviously, I think it's a horrible idea to lose a team like Vancouver with them making the MLS finals a year ago, for some of the great players that they've had on the team and all that stuff, and they already have good results this year as well. But from a U.S. men's national team standpoint and from a greedy standpoint, I love it. Simply because we get to take that away. Baco, that is an intense fight. The MASL. Stefan is banned. Yeah, Stefan is banned for the rest of life. Baco, just letting you know. That Mitojevic or something. I forget. It's too many syllables. But yeah, no, he's out for remainder of life. Baco, just letting you know. Fabian, is in the NIA, is Oakland City University a good women's program? I don't know who Oakland City is in the NIA. I don't know who that is at all.
Is he referring to Oakland University? If it is Oakland University, they're NCAA D1, I think. Well, and everything, yeah. So
let's see.
He might be referring to.
Oh no, there's truly an Oakland City University.
Is it not NCCAA or NJCAA?
Let's see. Let's search it up.
Might be community college.
Oh no, it's NAIA.
Oakland City?
Shout out to Oakland City University Mighty Oaks. They're based out of Indiana. Yeah, Oakland City, Indiana. Hopefully their fan base isn't as emotional.
That would be
soft as the University of Indiana in Bloomington. Hopefully that would be
a better Schrock question.
Fabian, I'll answer the question for you. No idea, because I've never heard of the team until today. So could not tell you at all about that. So yeah. I kind of thought you were talking about like Oakland University, like OU, like the Golden Grizzlies, but I got no idea. Look up Lourdes Mercado. I'll look it up during the break. I'll look it up during the break for you, Fabian. But anyway, Vancouver. They are 33% Spaniards. That's the issue with. Gosh, you're gonna get me down a different rabbit hole, Fabian. Let me get to this Vancouver point, because you're gonna say something about how all these different colleges have all these different international players. They don't actually have Americans, and I'm gonna get really pissed off. And you're gonna put me down a rabbit hole. So no, not looking at the chat for you, Fabian, right now. I'm not looking. It's all Fabian's fault, everyone. Anyway, Vancouver. Sad to see them go, but great for the U.S. men's national team if this does happen. Okay, let's talk about it, though, for a split second. I do have a club statement from them here in a second. But here is what the club statement says. We are aware of today's reporting. The club has faced well-documented structural challenges around stadium economics, venue access, and revenue limitations that have made it difficult to attract buyers committed to keeping the team in Vancouver. Over the past 16 months, we have had serious conversations with more than 100 parties, and to date, no viable offer has emerged that would keep the club here. It remains a strong preference of this ownership group to find a solution in Vancouver if there is a local ownership group with the vision and resources to chart a path forward. We urge them to come forward. Look, there's a lot more money in Vegas. There's a lot more money in Phoenix than there is in Vancouver. I get it. You've got a passionate fan base. You've had a good side. But I'll tell you this. No one really wants to be in Vancouver. No one really wants to be in Canada. And to think, for the MLS fans out there, you've got to realize that these are not clubs. These are franchises. They want to, again, San Diego spent, I think, $500 million just to get into the league itself. Like, they didn't go up the proper way where they started, like, I don't know, like the UPSL or something, then gone to USL 1, then championship, and get promoted all the way up. No, they just bought $500 million. So, I don't know. So, these are not true clubs in America. They are franchises. And what do franchises do? They can say, okay, I don't really like it here anymore. Let's pick things up and let's move, i.e. the St. Louis Rams, which are now the LA Rams, the San Diego Chargers, which are now the LA Chargers. Still stupid how that happens. But you kind of get what I'm saying. And to be honest with you, these franchises, I should say, don't really want to be in Canada, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, we've seen that happen many times with teams from the NBA moving around and all that fun stuff. Like, no one wants to be in Canada. And if I'm a Vancouver fan, I'd be pissed because you guys are a very loyal, passionate fan base that has seen some really good things. But on the flip side, for myself personally, I would love nothing more than to leave Canada because of one thing. It hurts the Canadian men's national team because you think about your best player, who is Alphonso Davies, which we'll talk about Bayern Munich a little bit later on today. He is a homegrown academy prospect through the Vancouver system. You now don't have that. And if you're a USA fan, that's great because they then eliminate the highest tier of soccer in Canada and the United States from their own backyard. And where do these players have to go? They either have to go from the Vancouver area, they either have to go across the country into Toronto, or they have to go into the United States and be in the American academies or somehow end up going overseas. So from a USA standpoint, this is great. This is awesome for the U.S. men's national team because Canada started to become a little bit of a thorn in our side a little bit. But eliminate one of those academies, it's going to hurt the game of soccer in Canada. Then they can worry about hockey more. So, I mean, they're going to lose that anyway. But from a USA standpoint, this is awesome. What is it? Dave, afternoon all, running late, jumping back to the start and watching at 1.5 times speed. Yeah, we didn't really miss much up to this point. But, Dave, by the way, we're talking about your Scottish Premiership a little bit later. 41 years. Could happen. Fabian, I love the show. You guys have a good interaction with the fans. Hey, we appreciate you too, Fabian.
Yeah. Here's every small market. Realistically, especially since Vegas really started to boom the way that they did, you feel like they're living on borrowed time. And what's most alarming to me is you had mentioned that obviously Vancouver is the second biggest, city in Canada. So the fact that they're not financially viable in the second biggest city in Canada tells you a couple of things, but it tells me one thing primarily, and that's this sport is still, even more so than here in the United States, it's still really struggling to catch up to the sports that matter in that country, which is really just one, and that's hockey. Outside of hockey, it's lacrosse. Lacrosse is the second most popular sport in Canada. And then beyond that, you probably go to basketball, maybe baseball, but soccer is very much struggling and fighting for their life to even be competitive with the other sports in that market and our friendly neighbors to the north. Well, I guess friendly at some points. But that is the most alarming part about it, that you can't be financially viable in the second biggest city in Canada. I think it'll have some sort of effect on the national team, maybe not as much as what you're giving it credit, but I will say this, there is no market right now in professional sports that is offering more to those same smaller franchises than a place like Vegas. And it is just, in my mind, in my personal opinion, it feels like the last pillar or another pillar in what we've seen from Vegas really since, and I don't know when it began, maybe a handful of decades ago, but when it went from being a place, just this place in the desert where everybody went to indulge in debauchery and bet and waste their lives away and do things that cannot be mentioned outside of Vegas, it went from that to being a hotspot. It's now a destination. And the pro sports atmosphere is now, I don't know if it's going to be complete necessarily, but this is just another step. We saw what they did in the NHL in the birth of the Las Vegas Knights. We've seen what they've done in the NFL in a team leaving Oakland to come. We've seen what they've done in that's Major League Baseball with the Oakland Athletics. But every single major sport, they have found a way to essentially snatch up a franchise who's in either a deadbeat city or one that has been maybe in some ways gentrified, that doesn't necessarily care about sports nearly as much as the people who live there for decades and decades and decades, even centuries. Yeah, that's the Vegas way. It's Viva Las Vegas. That's what pro sports has become. And so Vancouver moving there obviously would turn this organization completely around. It would be much more financially viable, and it is the hotspot in professional sports right now. It is, and even if it's not Vegas, even the ownership group, I think, in Vancouver has talked about the inevitability of something like this happening because, again, the money just isn't coming in. You're out of options. You don't get to be picky right now So they need to find a place to go. What's unfortunate, again, to your point, and I remember I was watching the Stars and the Wild play in the NHL playoffs, and the reason why that series is heated partially. What adds to the story is that when that franchise started, they were the North Stars, and the North Stars ended up moving where to Dallas to become the Dallas Stars because at that point in time in the United States, that was like during like it was before the whole SMU thing, but Dallas was a booming metropolis. And so, the small ownership group in a passionate place like Minnesota where hockey means everything, even then realized we're going to make a lot more money if we move down to Dallas. I know those Texas people probably don't care all that much about hockey, but what they do have is they have money, and with money comes opportunity. So that's the cruel nature of pro sports sometimes, Ryan. It is what it is, but I certainly think it is something that could happen.
Yeah, I would agree. A couple comments from Fabian says lacrosse, hockey, and football. Look at what happened to the Expos. The Blue Jays have been hanging on by a thread. And the NBA, they lost the Grizzlies, if I recall. Yeah, they were in Canada as well. But cities like El Paso, Texas, where I lived in, they have over 1 million people and don't have a professional team. They only have a USL team. And those people killed for a professional team. The college football packed, and their AAA baseball is also packed down there as well. I just want to run over a couple things real quick. So I just searched up what is the largest U.S. cities by population. You've got NYC with 8.4 million. This is, of course, in 2025.
Yep.
LA 3.8 million. Chicago 2.7 million is the third, and Vancouver has 2.7 million. You're telling me that's not a viable city to make money in?
They must just not care.
2.7 million people. You're telling me you guys can't make money off of this?
They probably just don't care, man. I mean, I remember watching that Court of Gold documentary, and like Dylan Brooks talked about, like anything you watch on TV in Canada, 99.9% of the time is going to be hockey. And I can relate to this because when I went to Toronto with my dad to see the Hockey Hall of Fame, first night we were there, we turned on the TV, first thing is eighth graders, or like I kid you not, they were probably like 15 years old, hockey, like a travel tournament thing. Like, and it's like, what, like that's the first thing that's on TV is a bunch of eighth graders playing hockey. Like,
so how we have like the
Canada,
AAU mixtapes, and we have like the 7-on-7 mixtapes. So they have like hockey mixtapes in Canada all the time.
Yeah.
Where you got kids wearing shiesties out there and stuff. And
hockey night in Canada is a lot like football night in America. Like it's like a Saturday, Sunday. Like we try to do it here in the United States, and obviously ESPN has packaged it as hockey night in America. But people don't.
No one watching that.
There, it's on every single TV screen at every single bar, every single restaurant. So that's just soccer's fighting the same fight it is here in the U.S., but I think it's even more so in Canada. If I'm being.
Couple more quotes right before we head to a break. We got to get to it. So the current ownership is Greg Kerfoot, Steve Luxo, Jeff Mallett, and Steve Nash, the NBA guy. And they talked about, where is it at? So over the past 16 months, we have had serious conversations with more than 100 parties. And to date, no viable offer has emerged that would keep the club here. So everyone that has wanted to be a part of this, they want it out. They don't want to be here at all. They want it to be somewhere else outside of Vancouver, and give credit to that ownership group because they specifically said what we want is to keep the team here. And I mean, there's nothing stopping an ownership group being like, yeah, we'll keep it here, and then like in a year or two, they're like, nah, we're dipping, because it's their ownership group. But no one truly wants to be in Vancouver, and it's sad about the state of soccer in North America, to be honest with you. I mean, outside of once you get south of Texas, everyone's kind of like soccer. They like it. Mexico, I'm sure, or it's either soccer or baseball. But if you go north of Mexico, it's everything other than soccer. So this region's definitely this region, CONCACAF, which you could probably argue might be the worst region in all of world soccer, international soccer, that is. And they still just have found issue. They still have not found a way to get the game of soccer to grow.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about everything else we have to talk about here today. But FC Bayern Summer Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. Right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. Again, that's BayernNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at FCBayernYouth.com.
So the dream behind Irene's was simply to be a place where the community could come and gather. This is my hometown, we're raising our family here, and we just want to be a space where people can come together as a community and share a great meal. We've got golf simulators, we got pinball, live music, trivia nights, but we also have fresh, always homemade, locally sourced food, and we serve it with a sense of Gemütlichkeit. This is a German word that conveys a sense of warmth and coziness and belonging. We're excited to show off how we're growing and that this is the place to be.
And welcome back into Inside the Game here on 277 on the National Soccer Network. Again, Sports Nation as well on social media. That's Sports with a Z. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky continuing along.
Real quick. So during the break, I went to go grab myself a water, and Bianca's like, "What did you post on Facebook?" My phone keeps blowing up with notifications, and I said, "It's the insecurity of Indiana fans. That's all it is. They're just a very insecure fan base. They got a little taste of success, and now, like, if you dock it down, it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." Yeah, insecure little fan base they are. They don't even like football either. They only liked it because they were good. You go back 2 years ago, no one's watching that team.
Yeah. They're protective for sure. But let's get into the next part of our conversation here on the show today. The Champions League semifinals. This is the big one. Ryan setting up a couple of really exciting matchups. Obviously, PSG and Bayern Munich. A lot to talk about there. But what are you looking forward to the most here in the semis?
Just hoping my team doesn't break my heart. That's the main thing. But no, I still think we'll get through. I think we'll get through to the final. I don't really have much questions about that. I'm sure people will probably be in the chat talking about how Arsenal sucks, this and that. I get it. We suck. I get it. We're trash. We probably won't win anything, but just let me have a little bit of hope. I think we'll get through against Atletico. I really do, but I think the most intriguing matchup is the one today. I mean, that is the Champions League final right there. That is the final. Bayern Munich versus PSG. I've been saying it on the TikTok lives. Everyone's like, "Do you think Arsenal's gonna win it?" No, God, no. I don't think we're gonna win it. And Dave, we're gonna get to Scotland soon. He says back to normal speed, and he's already talking about them. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna this just happened to be the topic we picked today. Blame the scheduling. Arsenal doesn't suck more than Real Madrid. No, God, no, we do not suck more than Real Madrid. Jeez. Dude, Real Madrid is awful. Anyway. I would say, I've been saying it on TikTok lives, and if you've ever joined any of them, make sure you do it. I do them kind of like 8:30, 9 o'clock typically whenever I get back from the gym. But I've been saying it that the winner of this leg, which is Bayern or PSG, will win the Champions League. I've been saying that forever. And I think with just their quality compared to the other side in Arsenal and Atletico, and that's why I was so happy when we did the show, I think a couple months ago, and I was like, dude, what a path we have. And that's all because of the whole table format, which I typically don't like, but it's benefited my teams, my team both years. So I guess I'm for it. But that's what happens when you finish first place in the table phase. You get to have an easier path, and everyone's complaining about, they haven't played anyone. Well, maybe finish first in the table phase, and you can get the easy path too. People don't even realize that. And then you could finish a 1 seed in a conference and then just lose in the first round of the NBA playoffs. That doesn't really help either. So, pain. But no, I just think that the quality on PSG's side is so much better than Bayern's side. I mean, you've got their wings for both teams, Varashvili, Dembele, Olise, like their quality. You still have Harry Kane, for whatever reason, who scored like 30 goals, it feels like, this year. Like, there are some dogs all over the place. But I will say this. I do think PSG will get through over Bayern Munich because Bayern always chokes in the Champions League. They always do. They only won it during the COVID-shortened one where they just played single elimination knockout. And then they won it back in, I think, 2011, 2012, 2013, whatever time frame when they beat Dortmund, which that's an insane rivalry, by the way, to have that in the Champions League final. But I think they'll get through. I think I will see Arsenal get through as well, which, by the way, if you're a neutral fan, just don't even watch tomorrow. I already know the memes, what's going to happen. I know it's going to be the worst game of soccer. I already know the memes with Simeone versus Arteta. I already know the memes. I've already seen them. I've been sent them. So all I'll say is don't watch tomorrow. Just watch today and then next Wednesday when PSG and Bayern play each other. But this game is going to be unbelievable. I'm excited to watch it here today. But no, I think PSG will get through. I think it'll be a tie today. I'm going to go 1-1 draw today, and PSG will get through. And then we can talk more about Arsenal tomorrow, even though Dave, that's his favorite segment of the week is when I talk Arsenal. But yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, it really is a clashing of styles, I feel like, in a lot of ways when you look at it. And I think you laid that out perfectly. Obviously, PSG's defensive masterclass in the way that they kind of dismantled Liverpool, didn't concede a single goal across 2 legs against one of the world's best attacks. Can they keep that together against Bayern?
Probably.
Yet to be seen. But also Bayern also has a lot of firepower. And this is a team that is stacked in a lot of ways that they're going to get after you. So, it's kind of a matchup of royalty. It feels like between those two different teams. And, it's always interesting when, before you get to the final, when you have that matchup where you're like, this is pretty much the championship. Like, got that same sense during the Final Four with Michigan and Arizona. You had that same feeling. Obviously, it didn't end up turning out that way, but what way will this go here tonight? Obviously, Dembele is the X factor in all of this. A hero of the quarterfinal second leg against Liverpool. He's really going to be their primary weapon. How does Harry Kane play? So there's so many storylines. It feels like layers upon layers of storylines when it comes to this matchup. But yeah, obviously excited to get to the conversation tomorrow for Arsenal on the other side. If I were to lay out a prediction as to how I think Bayern will get it done. I think it'll be a 2-1 finish. I do think PSG will put something together really good on the counter. I think Dembele will score, but I'm going to give Bayern the edge in this one. I'll go 2-1 here in the semi tonight.
Interesting.
How about that?
Interesting. So
Yeah.
Musiala barely even plays. That's what I would say, Fabian. And the other winger that they have is Luis Diaz, and this guy's been an absolute tear. Can't believe Liverpool just let him go for free. But I will say the matchup that I'm looking forward to is the midfield battle. I mean, Vitinha, João Neves, Zaire Emery. So many French players on this team. And then I look at Bayern, and they're way better than Leimer and Pavlovic, and if Gnabry drops in. And that's what Bayern Munich's kind of go-to is their attacking. I guess it's 4 because they play 4-2-3-1. So I guess it's 4.
Yep.
Their front 4, I would say. But the difference is you've got Nuno Mendes. I just wanted to say Nuno Mendes. I love saying that. They got Hakimi. They got Marquinhos. They got a bunch of studs back there. So, like, they're the one Bayern Munich like it would look like they have a clear advantage. They have a clear step up on PSG is the fact that like it's not that big of an advantage compared to what the backline PSG has and all that fun stuff. And I'm just fully prepared for a Bayern Munich, heartbreak. Like everyone talks about Arsenal having heartbreak on me. Have you ever seen a Bayern Munich fan go through the Champions League? It's the same thing every single year. It's just heartbreak after heartbreak in the semifinals or finals or even a quarterfinals. I mean, they don't get heartbreak in the league because there is no team in the league. Bayern versus Arsenal, that's not happening. Saka needs some shock therapy so he can play better. Yeah, he's been ass this season. He's been god awful, but he's been fine the last couple of years. I mean, I guess he's due for a down year, I guess. I don't know, but no, I'm hyped for today's game just because I will be watching the Champions League final 2 times, which will be today and then next week Wednesday, and then it's just going to be awful tomorrow. So I would not watch tomorrow if I'm a neutral fan. I'm just going to say it again because I've already seen the memes. I've already seen the memes about it all, how it's going to be the worst game they've ever seen. But what's going to be funny is if Arsenal wins it and then gets through. So, and then everyone will just knock it. So, it's whatever.
Yeah. Let's take a quick step aside. When we come back, we're going to make our good friend Dave happy. I know you got something to report there. First time in over 4 decades we could see something happen. We'll also talk about Man United as well. Makes the UCL, but still a lot that we have to talk about when it comes to that team. But all that and more coming up next here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
And we're back in live and Inside the Game. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky here for 277. Ryan, I know our good friend Dave is watching right now. Hopefully not still at 1.5 speed to catch up, but new Scottish champ. Apparently, first time could happen. First time in 41
Not there
years.
yet.
Could happen. Yeah, exactly. Could happen. First time in 41 years. Go ahead and break that one down.
Yeah, Hearts of Midlothian. I think I said that right. Heart of Midlothian. Hopefully I said that right. But they are first. They have, let's see. There's 4 games to go. And so I take it there's like Group A and there's like Group B, and Celtic and Rangers are all in the Group A with Hearts. And Hearts is up by 3 points. All same games played. So I imagine the winner of Group A and Group B play each other. So then they would eventually, obviously there would be no Celtic or Rangers. But Hearts, 4 games to go. They got a 3-point lead. Hopefully they don't bottle it like some teams in this world. But the issue is they've got a very difficult end of the season. They have to play Celtic and Rangers at least one more time before the season ends. And that's funny. Obviously, Motherwell and Falkirk are at the bottom of the groups there. But it's just crazy to think a league, and maybe Dave could help us, of how in the world is two teams that have dominated. My bad. I didn't add another team. My bad. How in the world, Dave, have two teams dominated the league for 4 decades? Just two teams. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, and to your question, Fabian, Nico Williams would be a good addition to Arsenal. I would agree, but dude wants way too much money. They don't want to give it to him. So there's that for personal reasons. But how in the world has there ever been a sport where a team has dominated, a team or two teams have dominated a league for 40 years? Michigan, Ohio State football in the Big Ten, I guess. Back in like the 30s?
The Celtics?
That wasn't for like 4 decades, though. The Celtic Lakers? But then you had like the Sixers in there. Then you had the Bucks with Lou Alcindor.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, not 40 years. 13 seasons from 57 to 69. And then
I guess
59
Real
to
Madrid and
66.
Barcelona and La Liga. Okay. I didn't think about that one. Good call, Fabian. La Liga winners by year. Let's see.
Huh.
It's probably, you're probably right. It's probably all Real Madrid and Barcelona. I know Atletico obviously won one in 2020, but that was, I think the only outlier. Oh, no, Atletico won it in 2013. No, not quite 40 years because Valencia had a couple in the early 2000. Deportivo had one in 2000. Atletico 95. So, no, I can't say that's as much of domination. Atletico Bilbao in 84, which is the last time a non-Celtic Rangers team won it in Scotland, which was Aberdeen. I think I said that right. But, yeah, no, that is the Yankees. No, the Yankees didn't dominate baseball. Maybe in, like, the 30s.
I mean, yes and no. Not to that extent. I don't. For 40 years, though,
There's a lot.
is a long time. I don't even think. Maybe. I mean, the Yankees were okay. Okay. Well, yeah, roughly for 4 decades. Actually, it's pretty. Specifically, 1923 to 64.
For the Yankees?
Golden Age. They won 20 of their 27 World Series between 1923 and 1964. Other major eras, so beyond that, it was
that really
like,
counts.
but 23 to 64, they won 20 World Series titles. Yeah, okay, so I think that's probably the closest comparison you could get to what this team has done. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you earn the title the Evil Empire, right, like that came from somewhere, although it has not been that way in a while, at least not in our lifetimes. But back, for anywhere from 23 to through the 70s, 80s, yeah, they were the Evil Empire.
Fabian, were you born for that? For all those for that dominance? Just curious. Were you born for that dominance? Dave, Aberdeen was managed by some random called Sir Alex Ferguson. I did see that this morning. Some random manager. I wonder if he was doing this the whole time too. Dave, was he just doing this the whole way? Somehow gets the benefit of the doubt. I wonder if that Aberdeen team was probably getting red cards all the time that just were never called. I'm curious. I'm just curious if that happened as well, Dave. But Dave, I want to know your prediction because you're kind of like helping us out. We should have had Dave on the show today. We should have brought him on as a guest. Dave,
I'm saying,
do we really? Do you think that Hearts is going to win it all? Like, I'm curious to know if people, because I'm not a Scottish fan or a Scottish soccer fan, football fan. I'll say football, Scottish football fan. So I don't know, like, what anyone's saying. I don't listen to Scottish football radio or Scottish football TV. So I'm curious if people actually think this is going to happen because it's a pretty tough road to even get to win their group and whatnot. So
yeah,
but yeah, no, like,
yeah,
I could not.
Well,
imagine.
I mean, after that long, I imagine people are just hoping that it happens because you just want to see that. Number one, you want to see history being made, but it's interesting. I saw your video the other day on how soccer is built on not having parity, and
it's true.
I guess I mean, yes, I look at it that way. I also feel like there's some American sports leagues, but not to that extent. Like I said, 40 years. That's the Yankees once upon a time, but even like I'm thinking of the greatest dynasties in my lifetime. I mean, Alabama football. Yeah, not 40 years though.
They're done now.
The Golden State
lasted like
Warriors.
15
that
years.
wasn't 40 years. Yeah, exactly.
Which is
wasn't
funny.
40 years. Like I really don't. Yeah.
So Dave says they've been in the top spot since week 2. So I'm asking, I'm like, do you think you're gonna win it? I don't care if they were sitting in the top spot. I want to know if you think they're gonna win it. So what was funny was I interviewed the Alabama FC head coach executive director this week, which funny enough, Chris Richards and Tanner Tessman both played for growing up. That was their youth club. That was their youth coach. And he talked about how he went to, I think, the national championship game for Alabama in, I forget what year. And one of his friends went up to him and was like, dude, why are you going to go? Like, they've already won like 5 national championships. And he responded with, you will never see this dominance ever again in college football, I will never see this Alabama dominance ever again. So I'm going to make sure I can go to every single natty. Dave says, as for the split, the top 6 play each other once, so you are up against the best teams for the last 5 games. Okay, gotcha. And Rangers fell at the first hurdle at the weekend, losing to Motherwell. So do we think Hearts is going to win it? That's the question I'm asking, Dave. Is Hearts going to win it? I just want to know.
He's probably superstitious, man. He probably doesn't want to say
I don't know if he's a Hearts
you know?
fan. I don't think he's a Hearts fan.
Dave, I don't know if this is a thing everywhere, but knocking on wood is something that I've been doing my whole life when it comes to these superstitions. So you can say yes, but then you just have to knock on wood 3 times. And then you should be okay. It should nix the curse or the superstition. Yeah.
So the top
away,
6.
but...
Okay, gotcha. So the last 5. Okay, so they're already in the top of Group A. Okay, I gotcha. Okay, this makes sense now. So they had a table phase, and then once I kind of like that though. So you take the top 6 teams and you play it. They all play each other at the end, but it's not really like a playoff, but it kind of is. I like that. I actually like that format. So out of the 12 teams, or I don't know how many teams are in it, but I like that a lot. So there's 12 teams, and then they split. Okay, I like that actually. That's a good idea. That's we're learning something new every day. So he is a Rangers fan. Said it would be nice to see a change, but do we think they are going to win it, Dave? That is what I'm asking. Not asking if you think it'd be nice to see some change or anything like that. I just want to know what the general consensus is, or maybe you can answer for me the general consensus on who is going to win the Scottish League.
He's just messing with you at this point, man.
I know. I just want to know who's going to win this thing, because I would like to see it too. We get into the parity discussion too here in a second, because it was just me that was running it. I mean, if you look at the game of soccer, it's the same leagues that dominate every single time. And I was listening to a couple people. The I Hate Soccer podcast was talking about everyone wants this whole pro rel situation, but but the last game of the season, Rangers are playing Falkirk while Celtic host Hearts. Okay, clearly we've lost all cabin pressure to Dave. Clearly we've lost all cabin pressure to Dave. Dave, I just want to know if you think Hearts is going to win. That's all I asked for, but clearly we can't get to that. So, great names, by the way, for some of these teams. Falkirk, like that's a Hearts, like it's pretty cool. Those are pretty cool names. But there's no parity in the game of soccer. Like if you were to go over the decades, it's kind of like college football. Because there's always a team or two that is going to dominate the league. In my lifetime, it's always been Real Madrid, Barcelona for La Liga. For the Bundesliga, it's always been Bayern Munich. Yeah, Bayer Leverkusen won 1 in there. Dortmund won 1 in there. But for like 95% of the victories, it's been Bayern Munich. I look at the Premier League, and in my lifetime, it's always been Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. I think had 2 titles in there. But then you go before that, it was Arsenal, Manchester United, and before that, Liverpool was running things. So there's always a certain dynasty that is always running things, and that's just the way soccer goes. And then even if you were to look at the last probably 15 years of the Champions League, I bet you probably see the same 4 to 6 teams that are in a semifinal or quarterfinals the whole time. The game of soccer is built on not having any parity at all. But I will say the MLS is a little bit different because they do have some parity. So it's kind of what you want. Do you really want parity in the game of soccer across the world, or you kind of want like an MLS situation? Like, do you not want parity? Do you want it or not? It's weird it's a weird thing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you look at obviously like the American side of things, I think sometimes leagues maybe manufacture parity a little bit. I think the way that they're set up in terms of the draft, in terms of trading, in terms of, worst team gets best draft pick. But I think the reason why the MLS has a little bit more parity is also because I feel like the level of play across the board is pretty similar. Obviously, you sprinkle in some superstars, and we've seen them come over and make
Washed
their impact. But
superstars.
well,
Which people
yeah,
didn't
guys.
understand yesterday when you posted that. They're like, who are you calling David Villa and Andre Pirlo washed? I go, when they got here, they were washed. I never said in their prime because they weren't.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like, so I think the level of play is more, it's like similar across the board. You don't have this like giant gap between even like the more profitable franchises. Now, we're seeing that separation, I feel like, more and more. I feel like the Miamis, the LAs will eventually kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack in that way. But I think it's more similar than maybe in other places, that are more established and have been established for a long time in Europe that are just going to get the best players available every single time. Now, mind you, if a player in the U.S. has a choice, they're probably going to end up going to Miami. But, I also think that plays into it as well.
So in the last 10 years in the MLS, there have been 8 different winners. The only 2 teams that have, or 6 winners. There's been 2 teams that have doubled, and that is the Crew and the Sounders. Or so 8. My bad. I can't do math right now. That's quick math. I can't do that. And the Crew and the Sounders are the only teams that have won multiple championships in the last 10 years. So the whole parity, it's interesting. So a couple comments. Dave, we finally have gotten Earth to Dave. No one has a clue. Even the local pundits have no clue. On Sunday, at one point during play, all 3 teams were sitting on 70 points. It is too close to call just now. Okay, so thank you. We finally got our cabin pressure over to
You
Dave.
got him, guys.
About time. But I think at some aspect, like, because I think about this too, like as a college athletics fan, like you and I are both Michigan fans, and we probably kind of expect, one of our, whether that's football or basketball, to win something like that particular year, whether that's a Big Ten championship, or maybe they make a deep run in March Madness, or they make a run in the college football playoff. Like you and I both kind of expect that at least on a year-to-year basis. But if I then think about like the Rutgers of the world, or the Minnesotas, or the Vanderbilt, which shout out Diego Pavia not getting drafted, like, what do those fans do? Like, what do those fans, like, what do you think? Like, is it just to be bowl eligible? Is it just to make the NCAA tournament? Like, the point of sports is to win championships. And, like, when you have a team that, again, it's the same thing with soccer, but when you don't have a team that's expected to win a championship, let's look at the Prem, like a Nottingham Forest, a Wolves, a Brighton. Like, are you just happy to be there? Like, you don't expect to win a championship at all, but you're still glued in and watching. Like, I don't know how to think for those fans. Like, I can't put myself in those shoes where, like, I'm going to show up to watch the team play at the start of the season, and I know for a fact we ain't winning anything.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is hard, but I mean, you just keep showing up and doing it anyways. We have experience with that. I mean, there's teams that, that we show up and cheer for every single year that we know damn well ain't going to go out and probably win anything, but I mean, we show up and do it anyways. I think it's so much of a community feel. And I mean, we don't have to get sentimental about it, but I mean, we know how much of an escape sports are. And I think just in that way, I mean, it's like some people's church, especially the people that don't really get into church, like, sports is the other thing. So I think it's more of a cultural thing. And especially when we talk about soccer/football, in that respect, it's more of a cultural thing than necessarily, our boys are going to go out and automatically win a championship. It has more to do with that. But no, I hear what you're saying. I think we're spoiled. To be completely honest with you, and me in particular, being that I have, obviously family, and the last name Wangler is splashed up all over the place at the University of Michigan. it is set me up well, because it means that I get to be a fan of a team for the rest of my life that does go out and consistently win. So I think I am spoiled in that way. But no, we have experience
difference
on the other side.
The difference with the pro sports and the college, that's why I didn't bring up. Obviously, the Lions aren't going to win anything. Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, they don't win anything.
Well, right.
But you have, but there's those slivers of hope because there's a draft in place where the worst team has a chance of, in theory, get the best players. In theory, there's a situation where you can do that. You don't get that in college athletics. You don't get that in the game of soccer, where if you were to finish 20th, you go down a spot. Or in college athletics, you finish bottom of the conference, you don't get relegated or anything, but that doesn't mean you get the first picks of getting the number 1 recruit or the number 2 recruit in the country. You don't get that opportunity. Once you're at the top, that you should, in theory, stay there. In theory, you should stay there, but you have recruits are more inclined to come to your program. You get more boosters spending money for you guys because it's like, wow, if you're winning, let's continue to stay top. Let's do that. But to think of those fans, like, they have nothing because there's not a sliver of hope. There isn't. What's the hope is that maybe you find a good recruiting class that gets you to a bowl game. Maybe you win 8-9 games. Maybe like for a 2-week span, maybe we could make a conference championship game. Maybe we make a college football playoff. Like, for instance, Central Michigan University, proud alum. They ain't ever winning a national championship in anything. Like, they're just, if they make a college football playoff, I will be there. But I know damn well that we are going to lose by like 50 points to whoever we play. But like, there's, for those mid-majors too, like, that's why we should realistically have a tournament specifically for the mid-majors. But like, there is nothing that says, like, I cannot fathom waking up one day and knowing that my team will never win a championship or will never have anything. And I'm just hoping one time that maybe we have like a 9-10 win season in college football. And for a soccer team, maybe one time we make Europe. We qualify for Europe one time and maybe win an FA Cup. Like, I cannot fathom that at all. And I don't know how these people do it. I would have wake up and done this. Which, by the way, I finally picked all of my pens the other day. There's like 10 of them over there. They're sitting there for like a week.
Attaboy. Attaboy. Yeah, no, it is different. I'm trying to picture what, a draft would be. Maybe if the Premier League had a draft one
they
year.
would hate that. Because like,
be so
I don't
funny.
know
who's bottom of the table? Who's bottom of the table? Who would have the number 1 overall pick in the bottom of the table?
It would.
I guess you would have to declare
because 2019. So the 17th worst team.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna have relegation.
Yeah. But you also need eligibility rules too, because I mean that's how drafts go in the United States. You have to be like a certain age.
Obviously, there can't be a draft. There just can't be a draft. But I'm like, because that would mess up everything.
I will say I do like the draft for that degree. Not that I like tanking, but I mean I do enjoy giving the worst team the ability to get the best player, because we've seen that story from teams go from least to the greatest in a stretch of a couple years because they get an ownership group that knows who they need and they're able to string that all together. So I do like that element to the draft. I know people aren't, obviously the biggest fans of the draft, but I don't know. I that's something that I think is actually kind of redeemable about it.
If we were to put that on social media, like, what if a draft happened in the Premier League? I think we would probably we'd probably have like too many Europeans telling how crazy we are. But like, if you were to have it, you would probably have to, you might have to make like college soccer become a thing then, because the academies are what produces the majority of these players. So then at that point, maybe we come up with more of an idea tomorrow on this. But like, you would have to have some sort of college thing, because then you can't have academies. But at the same time, the MLS has academies.
You would have to have a feeder league to the draft. So whatever that looks like. I mean, whether it be college, but I mean, technically they don't do school sports in Europe. So I mean, unless they completely change that.
So you'd have to make like a G League Ignite or an overtime elite type of league, is what you're saying. Where you're not, it's not associated with a Premier League side or a side or whatever. But there's a league where that's where the top talent goes. And then, okay, I could see that.
Yep.
But man, that
But
would create a lot of havoc.
If you draft them, they have to be on your senior team. Like, you can't draft a kid and put him in your academy type
But
thing.
isn't that what the MLB
And then-
does?
Well, no, it's not. Well,
And
I
the
guess you're
NHL?
right. Yeah.
The NHL and the
I
MLB
guess
have
you're
the
right.
same. The
Well,
only sports it does
in
is
the
the
rule-
NBA and the NFL.
in the Rule 5 draft, you have to put whoever it is, but that's too inside baseball. We don't have to talk about that. But you're right. No, you're right. So I guess you could technically, or you can get someone that could go right away.
We might
it's
be,
just,
we might be
uh,
creating like a war with Europe by saying just
A
even
hypothetical world.
just even thinking about having a draft in the European game.
That's funny.
We should
That's
you know what? Tomorrow we should have a proposal on it. Let's figure out if we were to do a draft, what we would do, and all of Europe would probably hate us.
Send it over to the front office over there in Europe. Tell them that, hey, we got a new idea for you guys. Try this one out for size. Let's talk about Man United coming up on the other side of this commercial break. But let's tell people about Barca Academy, proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I sing my song Grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now
for Barca
Barca
camp.
Camp.
Into the second hour here on Inside the Game, episode 277. Nate Wangler. That's Ryan Glinsky here on this Tuesday. Ryan getting into the next topic here on our show today, talking a little bit about Man United. Still don't have a manager. What the heck's going on over there?
Oh, they're stupid. I told you this is what's going to happen. I told you about the Manchester United cycle of insanity. They get a new manager in the middle of the season, and whether it becomes a permanent manager or an interim manager, they always play well after the fact. We are currently in the cycle of insanity. We are currently in the new manager bump, and like everyone's super excited, and we're so optimistic for next season. And then eventually we are going to enter the summer transfer window, and we will get the 270 million plus signings, or they'll spend like 300, 400 million, and all of a sudden all the hype's there. They're going to win a game, probably going to win the first 2-3 games of the season. Everyone's going to get hype, and then once October, September rolls around, the wheels start to fall off a little bit. Now you then add in Champions League football, so now there's more fixtures and more losses and more pressure. So that's just what happens. But the issue this time around is there's not a permanent manager yet to set up the whole scouting and what they want to do this summer. There's nothing yet. And that's a big issue. That's like hiring a college football coach like a week before the transfer, like a day before the transfer portal opens. That's essentially what this is. You cannot, in the game of soccer, you've got to have a permanent manager at least in place for a month or so before the season starts or before the summer starts. Dave, Man United equals stupid. Now that's something I can get behind. That's what I get behind as well, Dave. I love saying Manchester United stupid, but you've got to have a manager in place to set up because a new manager comes into place. It's unique. It's not like there's a draft or anything. There's not like there's trades in America, but you need the transfer windows are the opportunities where you can implement your ideas and your philosophies into the club and in the style of play that you want to play. And you need transfer windows to do that. And there's only 2 a year. The summer transfer window, which is the main one, and then you have the January transfer window, which is something smaller, but which is only a month long. But you need a couple transfer windows. Everyone says you kind of need like 2 summer transfer windows to really overhaul the squad and to get your philosophies out there. And maybe that's why we don't see as much parity in the league, because most of the clubs don't wait that long if they're sucking that bad. So maybe that's the reason why. Okay. I'm like talking myself into why there is no parity in this thing. But anyway, Manchester United does not have a manager in place. Michael Carrick, all he's doing is just coaching the team. And he's doing a fine job at it. But I highly doubt this guy is looking about what he could spend this summer, what the guys he's trying to target. He's just out there coaching. That's all he's doing. He's not the GM. He's not the sporting director at all. He's just out there just coaching his ass off.
Standing here. Yeah.
What?
I said I'm just standing here. I don't know. Is a reference to a movie. Just go ahead.
Gotcha.
Continue.
But anyway,
all right.
Michael Carrick's just sitting there. He's not doing anything. He's probably just looking at the academy. He's just looking stuff within house. That's all he's doing. But there's not another manager in play. Like obviously there's a sporting director. We know that. But him and the coach intertwine with each other. Maybe Carrick, because again, he still mentioned he doesn't want the job or anything, or maybe he doesn't want to give him the job. But at the same time, there's 4 games left of the season. It's April 28th. You might want to find a guy, or you make him the permanent manager right now, because you guys are going to be behind the 8 ball next season. And I mean, to be fair, I'm all for it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for you guys being stupid and you guys screwing and shoot yourself in the foot. Like, I'm all for it. But I'm just saying, you guys kind of need some help here, guys. Like, you've got to figure a coach out so you can actually improve the squad. Maybe what they're looking at, though, maybe the reason this is because not a ton of business is done during the World Cup. And obviously we know that the World Cup is coming around the corner. Maybe they're just hoping and like, okay, once the season ends, we're going to find a coach and no one's really going to do business anyway, which, by the way, business does get done with agents and everything during the World Cup. It's just, with the clubs, like it still happens. It's just the personal player side of things that doesn't get done yet.
Yeah. And so, well, the thing is when we talk about infrastructure, the reason why it matters so much is because if you don't have up-to-date infrastructure, if you're not with the times in terms of all the other things around your organization, you're also not going to be able to hang with everybody else who's on your same level. The truth is that Man United has gotten away with their brand for forever, and that's never going to go away. So it's always going to keep them afloat regardless of what they do. But it has that sense of, everybody else is working off of high-powered laptops. They're working off of Dell computers at desks. Like it just feels like they just lag behind in a lot of ways. And if you're serious about getting over the hump, like that should be your first priority. And I don't think they're lacking in terms of talent or promise or potential, but they're just behind. And I don't know why it is they would drag their feet. I do think, as you mentioned, that obviously the World Cup coming up could be a big part of it, but it just seems like they're a half step, if not a full step behind everybody else. Like they're just behind the 8 ball. And so I think, I think there are layers and layers to this. And it was funny to hear you just kind of piece together the story by yourself there. But yeah, I certainly think with how close the World Cup is too, that definitely plays into it.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully we did not lose
who
internet
knows what
during that.
happens
John
there.
was telling me we may have lost internet, but I have the stream next to me. It didn't look like we did, which,
You
by
did?
the way,
Okay.
only 1 like on the YouTube stream. Let's get those likes up, guys. Let's get those likes up. Smash that like button. We got to start saying that more on the show. We got to say smash that like button when we come back from break. Maybe we got to start doing that more. But no, look, this club is toxic. It's run down. They don't do things right anymore. Like that's just the issue, and they kind of just operate their own way and like they're just doing things around. The World Cup has a history of being a great advert for the youngsters to get their foot in a big team. Yeah, because you think about it, if a country makes a big run, which is typically has the best players in the world, they might sit at least preseason. They might sit a year. Not a year. They might sit a month, not a month. They might sit a game or two in the beginning of the season because they didn't get the rest because they were making a World Cup run, and obviously it's a marathon, not a sprint. So maybe they are very high on their academy players. Maybe they're very high on their youth, all their youth players. That they're like, you know what, we can live with the youngsters, getting a run-in, and obviously they'll be the players that are getting the preseason run-ins because they're most likely not at the World Cup. And if those academy players are, they either played for a country that's so bad that they get knocked out in the group stage, or they're just on the roster just to be on the roster, which Pochettino, I swear to God, if we don't bring a Matthias Albert or a Kevin Sullivan or a Julian Hall just to be on the roster and we give it to some no-name dude, God, we have the sport so backwards in this country. It's not even funny. But that's the point that maybe they're banking off of. Maybe they're banking off of their youngsters because, I mean, Mainu is good out of the academy. That might be it. Amad Diallo. Yeah, that might be it. Man, I was going to talk myself into a good point for Manchester. I was going to give them a compliment, but no, they're not that good in the academy. So, yeah, no, that's just what I would do, and I think Manchester United just doing it backwards. And man, am I prepared for it because I got so many Manchester United friends. It's so annoying that like they will probably talk about it in the group chat. Oh my God, I can't believe he signed this guy. I can't believe he signed this guy. Yeah, 9 times out of 10 they suck, and you guys don't win anything. Yeah. You guys win a Carabao Cup when you play against 10 championship sides in a row, and you get to a final and you play like a mid-Premier League table team. You guys even lost to Tottenham in the Europa League final. Yikes! But yeah, no, that's just my whole soapbox about Manchester United. They're just so stupid.
Yeah, and they've proven that time and time again. Let's take a break. When we come back, you want to get into Pistons a little bit. I'm sure that'll probably eat up some time. We also got a really good question of the day here today coming up in hour number 2. But Man City Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy. Players across the United States, open to boys and girls of all skill levels. These camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at usacamps.mancity.com. Back in live at the game here on the National Soccer Network. Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky. Ryan, let's get into the NBA playoffs.
Pistons suck. That's all I gotta say. They're the most pathetic 1 seed I've ever seen in my life. How do we not have basketball players? How do we not have players that can't dribble the basketball? How do we have players that can't hit a mid-range jump shot consistently? Like, you're telling me, I think it was in the second half. Hold on. I want to make sure I get it right because, dude, it is god-awful. It was a tweet from Jim Costa. Fire up Chips, by the way, Jim. He's got a good morning show every morning. I like his show. Jansen, on the other hand, we could maybe not have the Michigan glaze as much as, I love Michigan. We can maybe not. We can deal without it. Okay. The Pistons only made 2 shots outside of the paint in the second half. Guys, this is modern day NBA basketball. We've got to be able to knock down shots. We've got to be able to knock down shots. And we go scoreless in the final 5 minutes of a game? And the only one that we scored was a tip-in from Isaiah Stewart with 10 seconds to go, so it didn't matter anyway. But you want to know what this team is, Nate? Because they're constructed so horribly. You want to know what this Pistons team is? They are the 2025 Detroit Tigers. They're constructed horribly. We have a bunch of just guys that we love our guys in the regular season, and then we have all these all-stars, and clearly you find out that your all-stars are trash. Shout out Jalen Duren. I get the whole Cade turnover issue. I get it. But then you have Tarek Skubal, a.k.a. Cade Cunningham, he's out there. He's playing really good stuff. And there's, Cade's got to do so much stuff. Skubal, you play him, once every 5 days or something. So it's a little different. But you've got one superstar, and then you got a bunch of guys just surrounded him. Okay, we have a gaping hole here. So let's just put some Flex Seal on it and just put it on and see what happens. Oh, Zach McKinstry, that's a cute little story. Javi Baez in center field, that's a cute little story. This team is constructed so horribly wrong. We've got no shooters anywhere, and the one shooters we have is a liability on defense. But Paolo Banchero switched on to Duncan Robinson. They are hunting him. Banchero, it's basically just a gimme 2, or Duncan Robinson's got a foul. LeVert can't hit anything. Duren can't dribble a basketball. All he does is get lobs. Tobias Harris, not horrible. He's not horrible, but he's old at this point, and I don't want to pay him the amount of money he's going to want. And I look back at last year. Tim Hardaway Jr., Michael, and Malik Beasley would be really nice right about now. This team is not good, man. I don't know how in the world we faked a 1 seed. How in the world did we fake a 1 seed all year?
Yeah, and nobody is immune to blame in my personal opinion, because they look lost. And
you're gonna blame Cade?
They look soft. They look lost. I mean, most turnovers in a 3-game stretch.
Yeah, but you got to look at what he's been dealing with.
Hold on.
He's basically playing 3v5 in the half court.
I get that, but I mean, it's the most turnovers in 3 games since they started tracking in the mid-70s in the
Larry
NBA
Bird
playoffs.
Also had similar turnover numbers. Just putting it out there. Larry Bird,
Yep.
Larry Legend.
But Duren has been just a waste of space. I mean, he's good in the pick and roll, given we aren't in the playoffs and given we aren't in a prime spot, on a random Wednesday night in Utah. He's great. But at the moment, you are reminding fans of what it was like during the Andre Drummond experience. And let's keep in mind, Andre Drummond went to the playoffs with Blake Griffin, and then they got swept out by LeBron James, but they at least made
Giannis.
the playoffs, but they made it as an 8 seed. And I'm feeling about the same right now as I did back then, which probably is not a good thing, given we were the 8th then and we're the 1 now. Also, Uncle T, Tobias Harris. I mean, I think it's time you find a new home and to play out the rest of your career, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
He's
memories.
Capable of being a good option on a playoff team. He just can't be the number 2 option. He's got to be the 3rd or 4th option. We have a bunch of 3rd and 4th option guys on offense playing in our Robin. That's basically what we have.
I mean, 3 for 14 shooting. I mean, if your calling card as a veteran player in the National Basketball Association is that you can hit down shots or you can knock down shots, that's what you need to be in the playoffs. I don't understand how the lights are so bright for someone who is considered a savvy vet. And that's the thing about the way that this team was constructed. I thought they were a good mix of vet and young. but how are you getting caught up in how bright the lights are in Orlando when last year you were probably a couple of calls and a couple of, good bounces away from beating New York in New York? And I think to your point, it does go back to some of those players we don't have anymore. Listen, as wiry and as unpredictable as Dennis Schroeder was, I kind of like Schroeder's game because Schroeder had at least a clutch gene in him from time to time when they needed it. Tim Hardaway, a vet, obviously made the run with the Mavs, played alongside Luka. So that is a guy with postseason experience. Malik Beasley, obviously being a sharpshooter. Also, I felt like he was just better at getting off pressure and maybe a better defender, is a better defender than Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson just seems like a liability. If he's not shooting, he's a liability. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that everything about this playoffs, I just don't think anybody that's immune to blame. It's not just one thing that it's everything. And it's hard to even point to one thing that we're doing well. And right now, Orlando is playing with this sort of, again, it's us against the world mentality. No one expected them to be in this series as an 8th seed. You go in with almost with the expectation that you ain't going to get out of it. And they're battling their ass off, man. I mean, at this point, I almost wish we would have faced the Hornets because then maybe this Pistons team would have woken up and it would have mattered a little bit more to them because they walked into this thing like, thinking that they were all that, and clearly they're not.
I think they're not asleep. They've woken up. They just aren't good. It's a horrible matchup for us. They have the thing. They have two actually of the player that I've been calling for the last couple of years, and that is called a stretch big that can score on all three levels. They got Franz, they got Paolo, and we've got nothing. And my friend just said this. He texted me this, and this is perfectly way to put this. He goes, it's literally Cade by himself. And by the way, if you're out there and you think it's all Cade's fault for all this stuff, clearly you do not understand the game of basketball. He goes, it's Cade by himself with an old washed vet who has a midi but can't defend. That's basically what this team is. And offensively, it's a 3v5 if you have Ausar and Duren out there. And you flip it to the other side on defense, it's basically a 3v5 with Duncan Robinson and Tobias Harris out there. That's what this is. This team is not good. And I'm going to say this right now. And this is not some crazy take. Has this team regressed from a year ago? Because if I look at the playoffs, that team would beat this Magic team. That team was a lot more offensively. It flowed so much more, and that has to do with the floor spacing. And what's crazy is Ausar and Duren were both in the starting 5. The only difference is Ausar was out there to simply just defend Jalen Brunson. Brunson obviously got his. He got to the free throw line a crazy amount of time. But the difference is Ausar was just out there, and all he had to do was defend. He didn't have to focus on the offensive game. His offensive game was just crashing the basket, try to get some putbacks, slash a little bit, make some backdoor cuts. But now Ausar's got to be like the because you get rid of Tim Hardaway Jr., who's made I think the most threes out of anyone this season, and Malik Beasley obviously did his own thing off to the side. But now the floor spacing is gone because Tobias. Wait, no, was Ausar a starter last year? No, Malik Beasley was not a starter last year. That's what it was. And then you think Dennis Schroeder. We don't have another ball handler on this team. We don't. Danish Jenkins, that's who we got. The dude can't dribble. He's running around with his head caught off out there. He's just running around dribbling. He's just looking for something. How do I get to the basket? How do I get to the basket? He's running around with his head cut off. But I think this team has regressed from a year ago when they went 6 games with the Knicks. And I'm not saying because they were close games or whatnot. But offensively, it flowed better. How in the world do you score 85 points in a playoff game? How do you do that? They were scoring 100+ last year. It flowed better. Defensively, they were locked in. They are better. The Madison Square Garden was a harder venue to go into and win than Orlando, and they did that twice. They lost both times in Orlando. Then they're going to lose at home at next game. And I'm tired of hearing this. Saw it this morning. Shades of 2003 where they came down from 3-1. No, they're not winning it all this year. This team isn't good, simply enough.
Yep.
Simply put, this team isn't good. And to be honest with you, I'd trade everyone outside of Cade and Ausar Thompson. That's simply what I would do. Trade everyone outside of them. Duren, you don't deserve a Supermax. I'm hoping, if I'm the Pistons, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm hoping that some GM who's got a stretch big that can score on all 3 levels, somehow didn't see the Jalen Duren playoffs, and they're just like, I'm throwing JD in a trade package this year. That's not an overreaction. The dude can't dribble. He's got no post game. He's got nothing.
Yeah.
And this isn't a Michigan slappy take either, but I'd rather have a Daimara out there. At least that guy defends and has a post game. JD's got nothing. He has zero post game. How do you not have a post game in the NBA as a big if you can't knock down shots? How do you have zero post game? And JB, you're not out of it either. Out of timeouts, we're drawing up shots from half court. We're drawing up a shot for Karis LeVert. What is that? What? My IM basketball team didn't even develop worse shots out of a timeout like that. That's what we're drawing up in the clutch, JB? Jesus Christ, this team sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have the same movement to them that they did last year. It is it's apparent in everything they do. Yeah, and Duren, like I talked about yesterday, not worth the money, mostly because again, he just has lead feet, and is just, for one reason or another, has just been exposed in this playoffs and in what feels like night after night. So they're tomorrow night, right? Back in Detroit. Okay. Yeah, the Magic are, I don't know, man, they're coming back to finish it out. And I don't think it has nearly as much to do with the regular season as it pertains to the Pistons. I think it does, but I think they just got comfortable. And I think that's the part about maybe being the 1 seed, is that I think they were lulled into a false sense of security with where they were. And that's completely gotten turned on its head. And I think that's the crazy thing about the playoffs that we're learning, is just like, it is, the seeding really in a lot of ways doesn't matter. And I know I had briefly mentioned this yesterday on the show, and I thought it was a really good idea from Nick Wright, but had mentioned, and he's had a couple of really good ones, but he had mentioned that, giving the option to the top 3 seeds in the NBA to be able to choose who they want to play in the first round. And that would make the regular season more important. And it also would actually give us an idea as to who we have going into the playoffs, as opposed to, I feel like, what we have now, which is you get one version of a team in the regular season, and then you get into the postseason, and it's something completely different than what we saw all year long. And I think it's a good time to remind people that if the Celtics had Tatum all year, we wouldn't be the number 1 overall seed. And maybe that's what's missing from this team. Maybe the East was just not really all that. And so, especially during the regular season. And so there was a false sense of security when we got into that number 1 seed. And I think that's being put on full display with what we've seen through the first 4 games of the stretch against Orlando. They're not playing like they're hungry. And I think that's, it might seem like an oversimplification
but Magic
of things.
Just has them so out of sorts. They have hunger. They clearly do. Cade's gassed out there because he's got to play 40-plus minutes a night to even have a chance.
Yeah.
They just are lost offensively. This isn't a hunger thing. Offensively, they're so lost. And they're in the length and the size of the Magic is creating havoc for them. Banchero's long. Wendell Carter's long. Franz is long. They're such a lengthy team. And by the way, I'm trading every single first-round pick I have for the foreseeable future, because there's no value in first-round picks anymore. Because if you're not in the lottery, you're basically getting a second-round player. I digress. That's another point I just wanted to put out there.
Yeah.
But they're not. There's no lack of grit. They're in hustle. I would never say that about the Pistons, because that's the one positive I've seen. The issue is there's no offensive game, and when you get to the playoffs, again, the one knock in the NBA is because all this load management BS that LeBron created and all of this, let's not try. Everyone tries now, and everyone's playing now come the playoffs. That's the issue. And when everyone's trying, we find out this team ain't very good, and we somehow faked a 1 seed all year long. That's the issue. I would never discredit this team's hustle or grit. Maybe you could say the first game. Maybe you could say that. But ever since then, there's been heart, there's been determination. They just have no offensive game. The only way this team scores points is at the free throw line, or we get out and run. That's basically it. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Anything else you want to get into on the other side? I was thinking about. Oh yeah, I'm so sick and tired of this whole Pistons, or not this whole Detroit town and all their guys and everything, and regular season this and that. That's what I'm pissed off about too. God, sick and tired. Oh, Derek Scooble's got Cy Youngs. Grand Slam in the playoffs. 15-2 Lions. We lose in the first round. Pistons 1 seed, 60 wins. Pistons won again. We're going to lose in the first round. So sick and tired of this regular season BS.
Let's get into that on the other side. Then we'll get into question of the day as well. All that and more coming up next here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Inside the Game rolls along here on the National Soccer Network. Yeah, Ryan, you said it before break. We can't have anything nice, and I know we've mentioned this on the show. But just to recap, Lions 15-2, gone in round one. Tigers collapsed the century last season. We saw that happen in real time. Red Wings missed the playoff for the 10th straight year. By the way, that is the longest such drought in the National Hockey League. Also, the Pistons, 60 wins, loading first round exit, potentially next game against the Orlando Magic. I don't know if it's necessarily a product. You can, I guess, partially blame it on ownership. In inability or unwillingness maybe to make moves or take risks. I know, as it pertains to the Tigers, the spending that team did when, obviously Dad Illich was in charge, they risked it for the biscuit. Now, mind you, they didn't end up winning a World Series, but they got there a couple of times because they were willing to break out the money.
Won 0 games though.
Yeah, that's true. But as it pertains to the Wings, yeah, I mean, we talked about the gap between you and me. My understanding of that organization was that there was a standard there, and it was making the playoffs and making runs and putting out a good product. But, if you're Ryan's age, 22 years old, or even younger than that, you've never seen really the Red Wings do anything. The Lions is the only one that maybe will give a little bit of pushback. At least they're winning games now. There's the longest time where, they didn't even do that, where like a 5, 6, 7 win season was not really out of the question. That was just kind of par for the course, So if anything, yes, I mean, the downfall, the way that it all went down was terrible. It was heartbreaking. It was so uniquely Lions, but that's the only one that I'll really give pushback on. But yes, it has been one disappointment after another. But is it always because our owners aren't making moves, or is a lot of it something that just simply is beyond our comprehension that can't be explained? Because when it comes to the Lions,
the owners aren't making the moves.
Think about the
no one
Lions,
does anything at the deadline. Nobody does. And the one person that did, it meant nothing because we didn't even make the playoffs. Like Trajan.
Yeah.
We just talked about Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah.
We just talked about him. And what did we do last offseason? Or last trade deadline? Oh, we acquired him at the deadline. That was pretty nice. I'm happy with the New York Giants, Yankees, Knicks, and the Miami. Yeah, the Knicks, if we played them, that'd be so awesome. I wish we played the Knicks in the first round instead.
Well, New York, I mean, New York has been going through it for a while, too.
Pistons
what they
equal
got going
Cleveland. I could see it. I mean, we do have the head coach, so
I mean,
that. But look, the Lions...
Detroit equals Cleveland in a lot of ways, but go ahead.
The Lions... Only at the one time Brad Holmes added at the deadline was to get Zadarius Smith, and that was simply because Hutchinson died. If Hutchinson does not get hurt, he doesn't go after Zadarius Smith. That's a proven fact based on his track record. This year, we needed some offensive line help desperately. We needed help defensively, and Brad's like, no, we're good. Trajan, we could really use another score. I mean, if I'm watching the same team, offensively, it doesn't work with just Cade. Maybe we could add a Michael Porter Jr. or a Trey Murphy. Nah, we're good. We're not gonna add anything either. Last offseason with the Tigers, what do we add? Kyle Finnegan? I mean, he's been good, but like outside of that, did we really add anything? Not really worth mentioning. Like, and then the Red Wings always have great starts. They don't add anything at the deadline besides this year. Like, the GMs in this town piss me off so much sometimes, man. We don't acquire the needs that we need to have. And then the issue also becomes is the fans. The fans. Guys, our players really aren't that good. Cade's fine. I will give you Scooble. I will give you God. And I will give you Amon-Ra, Goff, Sewell. Probably blanking on some Aiden Hutchinson. I'll give you them. They're stars. But if I have to hear someone talk about, how great Zach McKinstry is, or something, how great Danish Jenkins is, or Jalen Duren. Guys, we don't have many stars in this town, and it shows come playoff time. And I'm sick and tired of all these damn regular seasons. Oh, well, Derek Scooble's got all these Cy Youngs, and we have 8 All-Stars or whatever it is. Where's the All-Stars when it mattered most? Where was Javi? Where was Zach McKinstry? Where was Riley Green? Where was, I don't know, even know who else was an All-Star last year. Yeah. And Scooble gives up a grand slam in Game 5. Then we get 15-2 Lions. Oh, but the injuries. Guys, you're a 1 seed. You won 15 games with all the injuries. You're telling me you just beat a 14-win team in the Vikings, and we just can't show up in the playoffs? We can't show up in the playoffs either as the Pistons? I'm so sick and tired of these great regular seasons. I said this already on the show. Or a while back, we had a massive argument about it. I don't care really what you do in the regular season because 10 years from now, like the 2012, the 2011s, the 2013 Tigers, what's the first thing that comes to mind? How didn't you get it done? It's not about all these great regular seasons you had, the AL Centrals. We made a World Series. How didn't you get it done? That's the first thing that comes to my mind 10 years from now. Like, we're going to look at this Pistons team in a couple of years and be like, dude, they were awful. Thank you, Fabian. What matters most is the postseason. That's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I talked to all the different reporters that come out to the ballpark, to cover the Whitecaps, throughout the years. But this year, I talked to Emily Walden specifically. She works at The Athletic. She writes a lot on, Tigers minor leaguers, and she actually helped a lot in the push to get them more money and get them out of host families and get them into apartments and all this other stuff. But, she was down in Tigers spring training, and, she walks into the clubhouse and talking to, different players and whatnot, and had a conversation with one particular person. And, someone mentioned like, hey, it's wild to think that he could make the opening day roster. And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, well, not just make the opening day roster. I mean, he's the best player in that room. And I think it's for people who don't, who have, been following the Tigers for as long as they have, to see a prospect, a homegrown prospect, look the way that Kevin McGonigal does. It is alien-like because we're not used to seeing it. We're used to being the city that so often has to go out of their way to overspend to get stars to come here, to overcompensate, to get players to consider Detroit over consider some of their other options. And so, I think sometimes it is the owners, but sometimes I also think it is the city itself that almost works against itself, because it's tough to go out and get a lot of those players to come and want to play in Detroit. But in order to make it a destination, you got to win a championship. And that's the biggest problem, is we can't get over the hump, so, but yeah, I mean, it is a lack of, but I also think, with baseball, it is the long game. I know that Scott Harris is, you got to be careful about overspending in certain spots, but
the fact that I think the Tigers are like a game or two out from the Guardians or whatever. April 28th, playoffs don't start till October. Yeah, I'm not losing.
Got about 100 and some odd games left.
Hey, when
Yeah.
the last 2 seasons resulted in a 2/10 of a chance of making the playoffs and they make it, and then you blow a 15-game lead the one after, I don't really care what you do up to the All-Star break, as long as you're somewhat within striking distance of winning the
Yeah.
Central. Let's
Yep.
see. Fabio was bringing us some good points. He goes, I pray to God we kick the crap out of the Cowboys. I hate those. And I said, hey, same here, my man. I also hate the Cowboys. He goes, me and my friends don't talk during football season. I think you guys could be cordial outside of Sundays.
Yeah.
But
Get the group
it's
chat
like,
going.
so there's a couple issues when it comes to the coming to Detroit to play. Obviously, the whole tax situation, you don't have that down in Florida. Obviously, the weather is a big factor as well. Why Grant Hill got out of town because his wife had the condition or wherever where being in cold climates does not help you. And it's a very blue. Will I ever change the Giants? No, I don't want to be a New York Giants fan, man. I'm still the Lions, man. I'm still rocking with the Lions, man. I will always rock with the Lions. I don't want to be a Giants fan, Fabian. I'm sorry. I like what you guys are doing. I just don't want to be a Giants fan. I like your young nucleus. I liked your draft. I would have taken Caleb Downs personally at number 9 or whatever it was, or 10. But Detroit, I'm like, just pisses me. Get so mad just even thinking about it, man. Like, this team it's a great sports town. It's a great sports town. Yet the only thing we got to show for it is the West Michigan Whitecaps and the Michigan Wolverines. That's and the Michigan State Club dodgeball team. That's basically what this state has to show for it. Hey, I guess Western Michigan won a national
Don't forget
championship
the
in hockey.
Griffins. Griffins are in the playoffs right now. I don't know how they're doing. I mind you haven't checked, but the
But,
AHL team is good.
But when it comes to the Big Four, we always suck in the biggest moments. Like, that's what it boils down to, is
Yeah.
we suck in the big time moments. And it's so annoying because for the longest time, we just sucked. Like, we were just awful. Like, we weren't even a
Yeah, and that's
thought.
why people use the term like Renaissance. Like it have that feeling that all the different teams were starting to kind of hit their stride all at the same time. But all of them have kind of hit that hump at the same exact time too that they need to get over. And so now each and every one of them were like, oh yeah, they're all stomachable. They're not terrible, but they just can't get the job done.
Give the cornflakes from Battle Creek, Michigan some love. Hey, we'll give Kellogg some love, guys.
The Whitecaps, by the way, are back out in Cedar Rapids this week where they won the championship last year. Home of Quaker Oats. So the whole town will smell like crunch berries today.
Kellogg, we got to rep Michigan. Kellogg. Clears.
Yeah, but crunch berries are great, man. In the whole town. I kid you not, the whole town smells like crunch berries on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then it smells like oatmeal on
Michigan.
Thursday and
We
Friday.
got to rep Michigan. I'm waiting for the day when Kurt Signetti beats Michigan again, and you're happy that Kurt Signetti beat Michigan. I'm waiting for that day.
How did that come up?
I'm just waiting because you're rooting for the non-Michigan stuff.
I'm
Gotta
not
keep the
rooting for
Michigan
anything.
stuff in house.
I mean,
Next thing you
wait,
know,
what
he's
are
gonna
the
say
best-
Coke's better than Faygo.
What are the best Kellogg brand cereals?
I don't know. I don't even eat cereal. Period.
Really?
I could not tell you the last time I've had cereal, man. I usually eat eggs.
You don't eat cereal. You don't play video games. You don't like any of the good things in life, Ryan.
I
Come on,
usually
man.
eat eggs. I have some yogurt in there, and then I take Eggo waffles, and I just like the only waffles I'll eat is Eggo waffles. That's the only waffles I'll eat, and I pop them in the toaster, and I eat them with my hands. Like, I just eat over the toaster, so I don't even have to have a plate, and I just eat them by hand because they're good by itself. Ask Nate if he could do the 20 hot dog challenge. Nate, could you do a 9-inning hot dog challenge for your next Whitecap game?
I could. I mean, we talked about the Fifth Third burger once upon a time for the 5,000 calorie burger. I did do that one. So that fits in a pizza box. So no reversals. Got it all done by myself. It was not good, but I did in fact get it done. So probably I don't know.
Shout out Fabian for even knowing this city. Ryan probably does ice fishing in Sault Ste. Marie.
Did he spell it correctly?
He did. No, he didn't. No,
Oh.
he didn't. It says Salt Saint. No, he spelled it Saul. I don't think that's how you spell it. I think there's a
I think
SAULE.
yeah, I think that is. No, that's how you spell it. SAULTSTE. Yeah. Yep. Sault Ste. Marie. Yep.
Oh no, there's a
Yep.
T. There's a T at the end. Okay, no, he did not.
We
missed
forgot
the
the
T.
T. Oh,
It's
okay.
silence.
Okay.
Oh, he worked. You worked in Sault Ste. Marie? To
On the
answer your question,
Canadian
Fabian, I
side or
don't
the American
fish,
side?
so I can't ice fish. And even if I were to ice fish, I would go 10 minutes down the road rather than drive, I think, 6 hours or whatever it is to get to Sault Ste. Marie from here. That's what I would do. I'd go. Would you work
far are
in
you
Sault
from the
Ste. Marie?
bridge? How far are you from the bridge?
Me? From Mackinac?
Yeah.
I got no
No,
idea.
no. From Windsor.
From Windsor? Oh, that's probably like 35 minutes.
Oh, okay.
You worked on the American side. What did you work, dude? You and Dave, man, we're losing cabin pressure with you guys. What did you
Continuing
work
to surprise us.
in Sault Ste. Marie? My life is like Forrest Gump. Yeah, you worked in Sault Ste. Marie. You're in Puerto Rico. You're living in Texas. Next thing you know,
Been running his whole life, man.
you had the whole food challenges. Next thing you know, you're gonna start running like 100 miles. You're gonna run across the country. I just felt like Rawdine.
You want to get into question of the day? I know we got a good one today.
Yeah, we go into question of the day. Question of the day brought to you by Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN50 to save 15% off that number one smell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. Okay, you worked in the federal government. Okay, Fabian, did not know that.
Oh, jeez.
Scan the QR code or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day is, how cooked is Brendan Sorsby? For the people who don't know about Brendan Sorsby, this guy just got put in a rehab center for gambling, which I don't even know what you do for that. Do they just like yell at you to stop gambling or something? Or like, do you go into like AA, but just like GA for gambling addiction, or GAA for not goals against, but like gambling addiction anonymous? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, well, first of all, I didn't realize we had a government agent listening to us, so I will no longer be interacting. He actually just requested to follow me on the social medias, and I accepted, so I'm screwed. If I wasn't already on a list, I'm on a list now, so good. Thanks, Fabian. Anyways, getting into this. Yeah, I mean, cooked, yeah, probably. I mean, what they do is, I don't know, they address the way that they would address any other addiction, right? Because I think gambling, much like drugs, I realize there is a chemical component to drugs, but there's also a chemical component to gambling, and it's called winning, and it's called dopamine, and the hit that you get from that, obviously, which forces you to come back and do it more. I mean, it's no different than any other thing that's addictive. I mean, addiction could be eating, addiction could be drinking, it could be smoking, it could be injecting, it could be any of these things. And gambling is, and we've talked about it on the show because we've seen it pop up in American sports, I think more so with athletes themselves getting in trouble versus like referees or, you know, we saw it obviously in Turkey.
The referees are probably getting in trouble, but the athletes just overshadow it all. So it's like, yeah,
Right.
I mean, we can get in trouble, but no one will know about it
But-
because the athletes are just as stupid.
Yeah. But I mean, it continues to get worse and worse. And like we've seen, you know, the American sports scene is dominated by gambling. You know, every commercial now is gamble your money away. Every single break, it's something about gambling. And so, yeah, cooked. Yeah, sure. But I think this is, I think it's just more troubling than anything. And frankly, I kind of feel bad because I don't think, you know, I think Brendan Sorsby is just a product of an environment in which, you know, you are, to the kids that aren't making that much money, you know, and NIL, the one thing it did do, yeah, it made it
$5
possible
million,
to make
by
money,
the way.
but yeah, but that just goes to show really how addictive it can be because there's always more out there. And, you know, when they call it lottery winner syndrome, you know, when you win and you're not used to doing that, you go out and spend it all or you just want more. And so I feel bad for the kid personally. I think to think that something like this can overshadow his playing career and the potential he does have and all of those other things is an indication that, you know, it's sad that it takes someone on that level being affected by it to actually be willing to talk about it, but it's just another glaring example.
So my bad, Fabian. For some reason, it didn't show up in the restream, but it showed up in the YouTube channel I just saw. It says, I made bets on food eating as well. I made a ton of money on betting on food. I got fat. I was the Pete Rose of sports eating, LOL. I mean, yeah, I guess so. But I'll say this. I mean, when you have so much money, sometimes like when you get so much money at such a young age or whatever it is, like you don't really know what to essentially do with it because you're in college. Yeah, you'll probably get yourself a nice little apartment, pay the utilities, the rent. I mean, you don't really have to get clothes because you don't really have to get clothes. You don't really got to get food too much because of the whole football programs. And you'll probably have to get some groceries here and there. Get yourself a good, reliable car, and then or a sports car in most cases, and then pay off your parking tickets if you're Shedeur Sanders. But like outside of that, you don't really spend your money, really. I mean, what do? You probably just start placing bets as one of them. Maybe you start gambling on other things. That's just what most of these kids end up doing. But I'll say, going to Cincinnati Reds games to bet balls and strikes and hits, like that's just like I can just picture him sitting there like just betting on please be a ball, please be a ball, please be a strike. Like I could just picture him doing that, and that's just so sad to see, especially with an athlete that would be most likely an NFL quarterback taken next year in the draft, probably a day 1 or a day 2 pick, depending on what the season does. But I do want to say this about the whole Pete Rose thing. I can't get mad on like if the bets are for you to do good, I don't think that's an issue. Now, if the bets are for you to do bad, that's an issue. But if you're to bet yourself as a baseball player that I'm gonna throw $100 on myself, thousands of dollars to have myself get on base, I don't see an issue with that. I just don't personally. I do not see an issue with that at all because you are not throwing the game. You're still going out there to play hard. But if that's the case for Sorsby, like if he were to bet on himself to just throw for 300 yards, I don't find an issue with that. But if you're throwing games and all that, oh, man, I had to get bariatric surgery. Jeez, Fabian. God dang. What's the name of that Miami Dolphin defensive player that was out of Clemson and didn't spend one dime, and he is filthy rich? He didn't even spend money on clothes. He used it all on Clemson gear and only ate at the team hall. I don't know. Shoeless Joe Jackson was caught up in the Black Sox. Well, there were 7 others that were also caught up in the Black Sox situation. So that's I did watch that movie, 8 Men Out. That's a very good movie. I haven't searched up like what they got right and wrong though. Like typically when I watch like a real life movie or like it's based on a true story, I should say, I typically watch like what they got right and wrong. And I didn't watch that, so I don't know what was right and wrong in that one. But I will say there's some really good actors in that one. Like there's some big time actors. And I'm already seeing the right and wrong Michael Jackson on social media. And I'm like skipping over it because I want to see the movie for myself first. The people that I typically like go out with have already seen the movie, so I might just watch a movie by myself. I might just go to the theater and be like, F it. I'm just gonna sit there for 2 hours and watch it.
I will say the voting committee, the people that the Baseball Writers Association, it doesn't really make any sense to me. I am of the mindset that Barry should be in, Pete Rose should be in, Roger Clemens should be in, because if there's one thing that I feel like they don't account for, it's just the hypocrisy of there are some players that did it and got caught, and there are other players that did it and didn't get caught. And I truly believe that. And I think some of them are residing in the Hall of Fame because of their ability to not get caught doing the things that they did. You'll do anything that you can when it comes to roids to stay into the league. But in terms of betting, I mean, if you're going to bet on yourself every day. Like why?
If you're Kevin McGonigal, get yourself on base.
Right. Well, but that doesn't take away from the way that Pete Rose played the game. Now, obviously, if you want to know more about Pete Rose, look up the type of person Pete Rose was not. But then again, this was during an era in the United States in which, we were a little less further along in terms of our social understanding and other things. But being a bad person doesn't take you out of the running to be in the Hall of Fame.
Dude, Lawrence Taylor is in the Hall of Fame, and that guy wasn't a great person.
No.
O.J.
Yeah, I mean,
Simpson's in the Hall of Fame.
Ray Lewis is in the Hall of Fame. He was not a great person as well. So, like, there are a lot of bad people that are in the Hall of Fame. And even if you want to say, well, Pete Rose was dirty the way he played the game, that was also just how the game was played back then. You know, baseball used to be, like
Michael
more
Irvin's in the Hall
overtly
of Fame.
physical. Yeah.
That's another bad one.
So,
Yeah. Fabian said he said he used to speak with Pete Rose in certain times. He used to fish in Erie, Pennsylvania, and he met him there a couple of times. So,
wow. Okay.
dude, this guy Fabian
Being
like
part-
is Forrest Gump, like low key. Next thing
He
Fabian's
literally
gonna
has been-
tell us is like he inspired like some insane musician or band. Like that's the next thing he's gonna say tomorrow. He's gonna like, well, yeah, no, I actually kind of like inspired the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, in my time in Sault Ste. Marie, like I just saw them and I basically inspired them to have the band. Like that's the
He
next
met
thing.
all the people. He met all the people from Motown. Actually, he's
He
through and
inspired
through, he's a
Berry
Motown
Gordy.
guy.
And Smokey Robinson. He's like, dude, you guys should start a musical company called Motown.
How old is Fabian? Anyways,
I don't know. I'm inspiring my son into soccer. Yeah, Fabian, what's your age? He's not.
You
He's not
got
a
us- you
girl,
got us
so like we can
curious
ask.
now.
We can ask his age, and
That's
not get
fair.
yelled at.
that's fair.
So, okay, we'll find out what his
Uh,
age is, and then we'll hit it for the for the show. He's a Brazilian
that.
jiu-jitsu black belt apparently now as well. He could be lying
okay.
for all we know. This guy could just be like telling us lies, and we
It'd
believe
just
it.
be just a dude in his basement somewhere that's just making up all
Who's
this
the-
stuff. All
He's
right.
48. Who's the Gracie family?
The jiu-jitsu, really like
Well, he trained with them apparently.
one of the, I forget his first name, but like really notorious Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist. I'm forgetting his name. Anyways, off the top of my head. But there's Gracie gyms here in Michigan you can train at as well.
Well, he apparently trained with them. So next thing you know, he's gonna like he probably inspired the iPhone or something. Because like you know how Forrest Gump had the had the like T-shirt or
Yeah.
whatever.
I
Next
didn't
thing
even
you know,
think
he's
about
gonna
that.
inspire
Yep.
the iPhone. Fabian, we can make a movie out of your life. Have you ever thought of writing a screenplay and then like submitting it to like, because like my uncle's done it where he's wrote a screenplay and just like put it in the like system where it can get like picked up by directors and
Yeah.
whatnot. Dude,
Mhm.
you should. He's a school owner too. Remember Forrest Gump donated like a hospital or something. Next thing,
I do
bro, this
remember
guy
that.
Fabian needs a movie. I would watch the movie. Fabian, we need a movie of your life.
Episode 278, Figuring Out Fabian, coming up tomorrow here on Inside the Game. But for today, that'll be all for us. As again, we appreciate you guys always stopping by National Soccer Network, as well as Sports Nation with a Z. Again, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Back at it. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinskin. Until we talk then. So long, everybody.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.